complicated goddess. There's a lot of interesting tales about her powers involving love and romance and beauty.
Awesome. Let's
She is
see what's going on.
physical melee assassin, which I know.
Correct. So we're going to show what happens when you might fight Cliodhna first. She is a terror in the jungle. Let's show off the rest of the abilities.
That was scary already.
That was spooky.
And of course,
you gotta do it. Show everybody.
There it is.
Yes. Look at
the wall.
Look at how amazing this is.
So
That's
awesome
so
stuff there.
awesome.
She is
Marvel,
truly horrifying.
Oh yeah, and so many things to go over there. I mean, let's get into it. Let's start with that passive. Lay it down for us.
Yep, so the passive is Phantasmal. So the idea here is that she can essentially take on a ghostly form and walk into walls. And so you can see here, as I walk into that wall, I have a brief entering time before I go in there. But now that I'm in here, I can actually walk completely into this wall, walk through it, walk anywhere I want to, and then I can exit at any time. And you can see that I'm taking more and more and more damage as I stay inside here. This passive has a lot of rules about what you can or can't do with it. So the first one is, it has a cooldown. You can only do this once every 16 seconds, and it happens when you leave. The second is that if you're crippled or below 25% health, you can't enter the wall. So if you're able to cripple her or get her low enough health, she can't just immediately sneak away into a wall. And the third is that when you have this on cooldown, you actually have an indicator in-game like, hey, you can't do this. I think the only final thing to mention, because this passive, again, is probably the biggest part of her kit. She has 10% physical ability lifesteal while she's inside a wall, as well as for a brief window when she exits. This is kind of encourage aggression with it. You want to use it aggressively against your opponents and kind of offset the damage that you're taking inside the wall, at least for the very first window of opportunity you have with it. So just an extra nice thing that she can use if she wants to use this aggressively to be rewarded for it.
What her first ability looks like.
So let's do the first ability. We have the Banshee's Wail. This is a 3-part channel. Oop. Something weird. There we go. Sometimes in this dev it can get a little bit funky. So we got the Scream. It's 3 parts. The final hit hits the hardest. And you can see that final Scream actually causes the target to be silenced, but that's not all. They're also deafened when that hits. If Lermy is here, if she wants to cast the ultimate and then hit me with the deafen ability, you'll be able to hear the audio disappear. So you can hear that kind of dip out and then dip back in of the audio. This is essentially removing your ability to hear for just a brief window of time, and then, so like a Raw could potentially snipe you or Thor could dunk on you. Just a nice nod to the fact that this is a loud Banshee just wailing into your ear.
That is so wild.
And that's not all, it has a passive interaction. When you're inside the wall, you can cast it along the wall. And you might wonder, what is that thing that's screaming instead of Cliodhna? Well, if Lermy can cast the 1, you have Spooky Wall Face that was at the end of the trailer. So we can go on to the next ability. Let's have Flickering Visions. So Flickering Visions is actually a line skill shot with an exploding AoE. Pretty standard stuff. But you can see that that target is marked. And what that target mark means is that they can no longer see me. So if I were to hit the center Odin would lose sight of me, but the other Odins can totally see me still. It's a targeted stealth. So only the person that I hit is actually views me as stealth, and if Lermy wants to cast it, we can see what that looks like. So she completely disappears from my vision. If she then uses the 2 and then attacks, you can see that she kind of flickers into existence for that attack. I can also try and hit her to also reveal her. So it follows a lot of similar rules with like revealing based off being hit. But this is essentially a way that she can hit you with the 2, and then if she wants to try and run away, she potentially can. If she wants to try and get into a wall, she can. If she wants to get around you and surprise you from the other side, where you weren't expecting it, she can. But the rest of the team can see this. And so you can also kind of play off your team's ability of fighting Cliodhna to potentially get vision on her as well. Just a very different take on the stealth that we've had in the game from before, from other stealths that we have in the game.
And the fact that you have to hit someone before you can become stealth helps remove a lot of the other frustration elements regarding stealth, where you can use it when you're very far away to engage or to escape. Really, this is like a really unique take on combat stealth, which lets her get a little bit of positioning or a very specific one-on-one advantage in a skirmish, which I just think is super smart design and a very cool evolution for the game.
Thank you.
And it adds such a level of mental play too to being in the jungle, because if you're in a jungle fight, you hit somebody with that and then dive into a wall to attack, even if the blind wears off and they can hear you, there are walls all over the jungle. Who knows where you're going to come from? So there's a lot of play there, and I think that's really cool.
And it is an AoE, so if you hit multiple gods with the explosion, they all can't see you, so it's not just one person. So if you're able to catch them all together, you could potentially deny the entire team vision of you if you are able to get that skill shot off.
So much to play. That's super awesome. So how about ability number 3? What's going on with ability number 3?
So ability number 3 is Lurching Claw. This is the movement ability of the kit, as well as a kind of different way of doing a cone attack. So we have a charge into a cone fire. So you can see it's pretty straightforward there. The dash does damage, the claw does damage, but you can stop it at any point. So you can charge forward there, you can charge, cancel a bit early, you can aim freely while you're charging, turn around and cancel wherever you want.
Yeah,
so the
People might have been saying, what about the ability 2 wall? And the answer is no.
Yep, and you can see similarly, you also can't fire relics as when you're inside it as well. Similar things there. That
you can't return to base.
Nope. If you try and back, you can start it, but you're going to take damage and not be able to. But yeah, this is your ability, especially if you're trying to gank like mid lane. So the final portion of the kit is the ult Tearing the Veil. This is where she uses her claw to tear a rift between the veil of life and death and call forth her banshees. So she casts this, a rip opens, and you can see there it kind of bursts open in a big attack, and then a whole bunch of banshees come flying out of it. This ability has that burst is higher damage, followed by tick damage that decreases. So you really want to try and land an initial hit. Does quite a bit of damage. But enemies do have a lot of warning that it's coming, so they can try and avoid it. You can see there, she tried to hit me with it from inside the wall, but I saw it in time, was able to back up. You gotta be careful when you're fighting against the Cliodhna. But I also have 2 charges of this, so this is actually a charge-based ultimate. And the reason for that is, one, to give you a bit of flexibility when using this, so you can choose to cut off opponents, you can choose to try and directly damage them. But when you're inside the wall, it actually acts completely differently. So here you can see I cast it, and it just kind of sits there on the wall. It's actually not going to do anything. And it's not going to do anything until an enemy actually walks over here, if Lermy is available. There we go. You can see it actually activates there when she actually walked near it. So she's able to place wall-based traps that go off.
Oh, she turned around.
So there's the spooky face. On slow-mo, some of it looks a little bit weird, but you can see there that the hood completely fades away,
there it goes.
The hair goes flying, the face gets revealed. Yeah. For example, her laugh, because it didn't feel potentially correct for her to like laugh and be super cheery, she actually has like this kind of wailing laugh instead. Just a lot of really small details. Oh yeah, and also we didn't talk about the basic attack. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The basic attack, she uses the Falcata for her first 2 attacks. They do normal damage, and her final attack is actually a heavier claw-based attack. So you can see here that I'm actually hitting the Odin for harder on the final hit. So she does have a hit chain, and that does mean that if she's able to stay on a target, especially during like the 2, because when she hits a target with this, she has a bit increased movement speed as long as someone can't see her. She can get behind a target and really get that powerful final attack once you put a lot of physical power.